Okay, it's on. Okay, first question that we have today is, what kind of relationship do you plan to have with the student body?
Well, I was a faculty member for many years, so I've always liked students. Not they may not have always liked me because I had to give them grades, but nevertheless, no, I really, in my whole career, I've always been very much, student-centered. I've been a coach. I've been, a teacher. I've taught leadership programs, the Phi Theta Kappa leadership program. I like to be where students are. I mean, that's just a very important thing to me because, you are what the college is all about. It's not about the faculty, the staff. It's about the students. And how does the faculty and staff, how do we all serve students? So if you don't know what students want, you really can't do a good job as president. So I find, any chance I can get to be involved with student government activities, with various clubs, with Phi Theta Kappa, those are things I would do. I mean, when I was in Florida, I even let them pay money to throw pies at me. So I can't remember what the benefit was for, but it was pie the prez, and Jello pies, Anyway, I'm not suggesting I would do that here. I've become more dignified as
So you're saying you won't? No.
No, I said I wouldn't say I will. But no, I really think, to me, as a president needs to be very approachable by students. Students on my campus, there was 6,500 students, not as big as yours, but a lot of students knew who I was. And because I got out to various activities of students, I love to go to sports events. And I hear you have a football team. I've never, where I, just came from, and we had 14 teams. Couple national champions, women's soccer, but we didn't have a football team, so that's fascinating to me. But I like the athletic programs. I like student activities. I like to get involved with orientation and other kinds of things. Any way I can get to have student contact. When I'm in the office, so to speak, it's very important to me that whoever my assistant is, whoever is guarding the door, really give students, I will want to talk to students if I can. So, I literally have the door open and I literally try to speak with students. It's not always possible. Presidents get pretty busy, but, I would really like to do that. But I really like mainly to work through the organizations on campus to have that kind of thing. So that's the way I'd want to connect with students on a personal level, on an activity level, and I want to be there for students because that's really what this whole enterprise is about.
Okay. Now, to kind of go along with that, how do you go about when you respond to student-specific issues? Is there a certain way you go about it?
Well, I think it's important to be a listener, and so, that's where I try to start, is to listen to the students. Often, problems kind of blow up to the president, yet they could probably be solved at some other level. And, for me, it's important that, presidents shouldn't be lord of the manor. I don't think that's right. So it's not like you come to me and I solve the problem for you. No, you come to me and I get you to the right person to solve the problem. That's the way it should be. And, that's the way I would act. It's, be glad to be a listener, try to give advice, and then try to get you to the right person so that, the problem can be solved. And if it isn't, I would always leave the opportunity to come on back if you don't think the problem got solved. So that's the approach I would take.
Okay, our next question. Your biography states that you are an avid proponent of student or leadership development. One of our core Raider values is diversity, and as student leaders, it is a leadership quality that is close to our hearts. Can you outline some of your successes in diversity leadership and give us some examples of how you plan to continue this commitment at GRCC?
Well, I think, you as students are growing up maybe in an area that isn't particularly diverse or is maybe very diverse, but you all are going to participate in a global economy, a global, the world is shrunk, by the internet, by other kinds of things. We are a global society, and you can't get around it. So, to succeed in a global society, you need to be able to get along, work with, understand other cultures, other races. You need to be able to understand that to be a success. So, just as much as learning math and English is important, to learn about diversity, to learn about other cultures, to appreciate other cultures, to really understand them is just as important a value for students. So, I have really worked hard with that. I mean, you talked about leadership. I used to teach and I would still be happy to teach the Phi Theta Kappa Leadership Program. And often it would be student government leaders, but I think leadership is something that is valuable to everybody, even if it's just for your own personal growth. Leadership study and leadership, work is very important as a self-development issue. So, and a lot about leadership is to learn those skills of listening and understanding, and which are critical in diversity kind of issues. Things that I've done, I've been on campuses that reflect the diversity of the area, and I think that may not, like I was saying at the beginning, may not really reflect the true diversity of the country or even the world. And therefore, one of the things I've done as a president is really promote international studies. And while I was at Broome, we really made a push. I mean, this was a agreed upon effort by the faculty and staff to increase our international enrollment. We went from 90 international students to over 200 students in the 4 years I was there. And we were bringing in students from South America, from Africa, from Russia, from all over the world. And, and it's interesting how as you brought them in, the word of mouth and the internet, the way it works, it just has grown and grown and grown. So we had a campus with an international student organization that was the most fun club you could ever imagine, and 15 languages being spoken at the same time, which was sometimes confusing. But those kids, those students, really. They just, they gave so much to the whole campus, because you could see by, interacting with these students so much about other cultures and other ways of life. And, it was really a great experience. They gave huge things to us, but everybody benefited from that kind of experience. So I think those are kind of issues that are important. I think as a president, promoting as you recruit new faculty and staff, you need to look for diversity in faculty and staff. You don't, and I think it's very important to reflect the diversity of the student body in the staff, but even to go beyond. It needs to be a very friendly place for any race, any kind of culture, and that's something that's very important to show that same kind of reflection in the staff. So, a president has a responsibility to try to recruit, not just throw out the net and see who shows up, but actually recruit minorities into the faculty and staff of the college, so that that comfort level can be, achieved by all cultures and races that are represented in the college.
Now, on a completely different note, we have a question that states, why are you starting or continuing your career after retirement?
Well, retirement. Do I look retired? Yeah, it's a euphemism in a way. I had an opportunity. I'd done what I felt I could do at Broome. And sometimes retirement has advantages financially and otherwise, for further retirement later on. So, really the term was I, chose to leave Broome for a variety of reasons, but retirement was a way to do it with, the most advantages to me and my family. So that's the terminology. I have been looking for another college like Grand Rapids for about a year now. So it's the same thing. I am not ready to retire. I've just retired from that particular position, but not from my career. And I've got a lot of energy. I got a lot of life left in me. I have 90-year-old parents, so I'm going to be around for a while. I am really looking for. I like to push myself, and this is really pushing myself. For me to, at my age, to come to a college like this, a big college, a well-respected college, a quality college, And what a challenge to try to make a great college better. And that's what I'm looking for at this point in my life. I think, people that really aspire to leadership aspire to challenges. And to me, this would be a wonderful challenge at this point in my life. I'm not, and as they said in the old Monty Python movie, I'm not dead yet. Throw out your dead. Well, I'm not dead yet. So I got lots of energy left for this college.
Okay, great. Now, where do you feel that tuition rates will go in the near future?
Up.
Simple answer.
Well,
at least you're honest.
Well, the cost of everything goes up, and that's, unfortunate, and it's always about, it's a relative term. The key is to make them go up the least that we can, and that has to do with, a president and a board of trustees that work to get the money from the state and get the money from the intermediate school district, the counties that support the college, and to work with that, to work with the community to try to increase millage support for the college. So it's not just, you can't just balance the budget on the backs of students, but tuition will go up. It's a reality, and like I said, the key is to make it go up as little as possible in the future, and that's a role that a president, working with the board and the staff of the college, really has to work hard to try to find ways to keep the tuition, keep this as affordable as we can.
Okay. Next question is, could you describe your ideal learning environment and culture?
The ideal learning environment. Well, I believe learning goes on everywhere, and it's not just in the classroom. So, and as I got a tour today of the campus, and I see a lot of attractive places to meet and places for students to gather. I think that's really important, that you have classrooms that have technology that's appropriate. I'm sure you're all very, as I look at, as I can guess your ages, I'm sure you're the digital age, and you expect that kind of technology to be available. So it needs to be technologically available and everywhere. And I notice there's Wi-Fi spots all over. So, you need to have the technology available. You need to have classrooms that are very flexible. People learn in a variety of ways. So the ideal learning environment to me is very flexible. There's not, this is not flexible. This is not an ideal learning environment right here. It's one that you use, but it's not ideal. I looked at a lot of classrooms that desks can be moved around and chairs and et cetera. I really like the idea of flexible learning environment, because people learn in different ways, sometimes in groups, sometimes in panels, sometimes individually. You need to promote all of that. And the faculty and staff need to get the training so that they can experiment with and provide that kind of learning. Like I said, the technology that supports all of that. Clubs and organizations, I think, are very important. You learn a lot in outside extracurricular kind of activities. You learn a lot about leadership and teamwork in sports. So all of those things go together to make, to me, what is an ideal environment. And it has a lot to do with ambiance, and this campus, as I'm seeing, has many places like that where you can sit down and talk about your math class, your history class on sort of a casual basis, and a lot of learning goes on there. So I would like to keep students here, so you make it comfortable and pleasant. Keep them here, have opportunities for them to have conversations, opportunities to participate in clubs and organizations. All of that, is very, very important to me. That's the ideal learning environment. It's sort of like a comprehensive community of learners, is the way I'd kind of describe it. And a community that sees each other, talks to each other, spends time together, not just in class.
There's two parts to this next question. The first part is, what do you feel are the major responsibilities of a president? And the second part is, how do you feel about taking on these responsibilities at GRCC?
Well, I think a president, it's a complicated role. I've done it twice before in other colleges. So I've at least, on-the-job training has told me a lot about what it's like to be a president. I think some key things to me is to be accessible as the president, to not be, on high someplace, to really be an accessible person to the campus community, and that's students, faculty, staff. So a president needs to be accessible, needs to be available to have the conversation so that the president understands the culture, the issues, the problems, the successes of the college on a very intimate basis. So availability, accessibility for the president, I think, is important. And, the next piece to that is the president needs to be a very good listener. Needs to be able to listen and not interject his or her own thoughts into what for a faculty member, I'm a faculty member by training, I always want to do the talking. So it's a learned skill to sit back and do the listening. That's important, and it's something the president has to learn, how to listen to faculty and staff and everyone. So that's an important skill as our president. I think a president needs to model the behavior that's appropriate for a lifelong learning kind of a college. And I'm a learner. I'm a learner in terms of I read a lot. I study leadership. I study what college. I study about colleges. I write about college. I write articles. I give presentations. So I'm a lifelong student myself, and so modeling that behavior, I think, is important for a president. A thing that I think is very important is to be a mentor as well, and that a mentor is like a coach, like somebody to talk to, and that's for the faculty and staff, and students too. I mean, I've had great conversations with student government leaders and talked about their future and how they can take the leadership that they've learned as a student government leader, and what does that mean for their future? Where can they go? And so being a mentor and a model of the behavior of a learning-centered college, I think all that's very important. Our president needs to be pretty articulate about what's going on at the college, so that the issues, the needs, the important points that are going on can be expressed to the Board of Trustees, can be expressed to the county. So somebody that can really talk about the college, be the cheerleader for the college in many ways, in the community, in the political circles, to the board. The president needs to be able to do that too. So you can't be a fading violet. You've got to be out there as a president, and you've got to be out there in the community representing the college, and being very vocal and articulate about the issues of the college. So those are a number of characteristics. Time's up. Okay, fine. No.
Okay. You talked a little bit about Phi Theta Kappa, but in general, student life is going up here at GRCC. How do you plan to directly support student life?
Well, I think Dave was telling me there was 25 clubs in an organization. We had 50 at Broome. So, and half the size, but twice. I mean, and that's a concerted effort by, good staff people like Dave, like, the student service area, to really promote that and to find ways to do it. We did it, and I don't have all the financial, some of those issues straight. We had a student activity fee, and I don't know if you do here or not, but the student organizations are supported by that fee. My goal was to make sure that fee didn't get pushed in some other direction. I wanted it to support those organizations and not be used to support things that the college should be supporting with other funds. So, to me, those student fees that paid for student activities were focused absolutely where they belonged and didn't get, distracted someplace. So that to me is a key, that that the support that is available is clearly identified for student activities, and that that's sacrosanct. Because, like I said, that so much of the learning process has to do with your participation in sports and clubs and other kinds of activities. So it's important that be supported.
Okay. Now, why do you feel GRCC is a quality institution?
Well, it is rated by accrediting bodies, a Vanguard institution. That's pretty special. Not many colleges do that. Accrediting really looks at all the aspects of the college. So for a college to get that vanguard status to get, in the, I don't want to bore you with the issues of accreditation, but let's just say, this college is well ranked and rated by the accrediting bodies that look at all the colleges in an area. So it clearly, the data says it's a good college. But, as I look at, and again, I grew up in Michigan, but I haven't been here for a while. So, I don't have all of the data from the community. But whatever I could read, I Googled everything I could think to Google about this place. I've been reading the Grand Rapids, press online, and I just see that there's a lot of respect for what the college is doing as it opens a branch in Holland, for example, and those kind of things. So there's clear respect for the college in the area. And as I look at data that I can, get, there's a dashboard page on the website. I don't know if you've looked at it, but it really ranks a lot of issues higher. But I want to say that the one issue that I thought was very clear needed some work was student retention. That was that dashboard showed not the level of student retention and the student graduation rate that I'd like to see. So that's something, if I were the president, I would really want to focus on. Why is that? Ethically, community colleges shouldn't be a revolving door where you walk in, pay your money, and fail and leave. How do we keep you? How do we give you the dream that you came for? How do we make sure that happens? That's ethically very, very important to me. So the idea of retention is something I would want to work on as the president, because I think it's lower than it should be, and I don't know why, but I'd have to figure that out and figure out how to make that improve. So.
Affirmative action is a sensitive subject in Michigan. What is your perspective regarding affirmative action?
Well, yes, it is a sensitive subject. It's, and if you read higher ed literature, there's the Michigan law cases, etc. I think, community colleges are open access to begin with. And to me, they were affirmative action institutions from the beginning because they're not selective, so they don't have to make preferential treatment for anyone. But they are really the minority gateway to, to real success and participation in our society. So I think we are affirmative action institutions by the very nature of community colleges. And, again, looking at those ratings and things, to me, retention is important. Retention of minority students at a same rate as non-minority students is important. Graduation rates of minorities should be no different than the graduation rates for non-minorities. All those kinds of issues need to be addressed. And I don't have the data to say, exactly what the numbers are. I just know graduation rates and retention rates are lower than I think they should be, but that needs to be applied to everyone equally. So we need to do whatever we need to do to increase minority graduation rates, or at least make them equal to graduation rates, but overall increase that. So, affirmative action is sensitive, not necessarily in a community college. I don't think, because of the open access mission of the college, but the key is to provide the support so that everybody can succeed. And I think maybe that's one issue that Grand Rapids Community College needs to look at. How can you increase those rates of graduation and of retention? And I don't have the answer, but it would be something that I'd be working on if I came here.
What do you see as unique challenges facing community colleges, and how would you address them?
Well, as the cost of higher education goes up, as the need for higher education goes up, community colleges are going to be where we're going to grow, but not necessarily grow in funding. So there's going to be a real issue among community colleges, as places like the four-year schools in the state, and this is happening everywhere. It's happening in New York. It was happening in Florida. The four-year institutions are cutting back on their enrollment. They're capping enrollment. So the community colleges are getting more and more students, and I think that's going to be a critical issue. More students and not more money except for more tuition, but that's only, one leg of the stool. You got the other pieces too. So it's going to be a resource issue that has to be dealt with. And, the role that community colleges are playing in really access to, the American way of life, the opportunity that we all have come to expect in this country, it really hinges on community colleges succeeding. So there's going to have to be a movement in Michigan and across the country to get the status of community colleges up to where it should be, to get the status to be equal to the funding from the federal, the state, and the local level so that tuition rates can be kept down. All those things, that's going to be a real issue. This country is becoming more of a minority more of a minority nation, and with that often comes language issues. A lot of other languages are being spoken, and so English is a second language, and those kind of issues are again going to be greater and greater as more minorities with different languages come to this country. They are going to come to community colleges, which is great. But now that's going to be more challenges, more issues that we have to deal with to help them succeed. So there's going to be some challenges. There's going to be some resource challenges. But I think, the key is to have community colleges really, people need to speak up. Presidents in general, boards of trustees in general have to speak up in states and in local areas about the importance and really sell the concept that community colleges don't cost you. It's an investment in the future of a community. So you've got to make that case so that the money can come in appropriately to support the increased growth that's going to happen.
Okay. Our next question is, how will you make GRCC a greener, more sustainable campus and rising GRCC as a national example in this capacity?
I'll ban plastic bottles first, as soon as I finish drinking. I'm a biologist. That's my background, and so I've always been very interested in environmental issues. In fact, ecology was one of the things I studied in my master's degree. So that's been an issue for me for a long time. I think I told the last group, I don't think it was this one, I took my high school students through the first Earth Day in the early 70s. So, this has been an issue for me for a lifelong issue. And at Broome Community College, we undertook a sustainability initiative at that college that, looked at environmental, economic, and social sustainability, democratic sustainability, if you want, very seriously. And I was one of the charter signatories of the American College and University President's climate commitment, and I know Dr. Oliveras was as well. So, I'm very committed to that and would want to keep that going at this college. And you're way ahead of where we're at Broome. I mean, we're just in the beginning stages, and you're already putting on green roofs. So that's pretty amazing. Colleges should model that kind of behavior, and you students should be absolutely, totally concerned about sustainability, because I'll die before, sustainability is that big of an issue, but you're going to have to live through it, and your kids are going to have to live through it. So it's a very important issue that community colleges have a real opportunity to be leaders in. Because of the connection with the community, they can be a community leader in modeling the green behavior in terms of facilities, conservation issues, recycling issues. Those kind of things can be modeled by a community college. And I find that our students at Broome were totally on board with this, because they could see how much this was impacting their generation. But it needs leaders from the top to promote it as well. So, those kind of issues are very important. Economic sustainability is another issue. You want jobs, you want opportunity in community colleges through our programs and through actually developing and really pumping some life into the economy of an area can help you get those jobs and maintain a very healthy, sustainable community. And I like to call about sustainable democracy. You need to all understand the political process in this country, in this area, so that you can make sure the people that get elected understand green, understand sustainability as well. You need to elect the right people to make that all go. So all those things are very important to the college, and the college can play a major role in that. And I think, that's probably one of the most critical issues for students, just to understand how are they going to survive in a culture unless it adopts a sustainable approach. I mean, that's the whole point of sustainability. It's about doing what you do today so it doesn't have an impact on the future. And, your future is critically important, and that's something that you have to, be very involved in. And the college needs to support it.
It's kind of a broad question, but what kind of change do you want to bring to GRCC?
I don't know. That would be really, it would be wrong for me to say, okay, here's where you need to change. I would not do that. The way I think a president needs to work, and work quickly when you become a new president, is to really get a lot of open forums from faculty, students, and staff to really ascertain where does the college need to go? What are the issues that need to be addressed? I would not just come in and tell you what the issues are. I'd come in and find out what they are. That would be very important to me, to sit, and as a president, the question often is about how would you balance your time? Well, when I first came here, if I were to come here, a lot of my time initially would be internally, to understand the college, the institution. I would want to look at those retention rates and graduation rates. Why are they? I don't know. I need to understand that. And can we do something to make that better? Your college is really involved in continuous quality improvement. Well, okay, then this should not be a big issue. This college should be able to discuss those kind of issues and come up with ideas about how we can improve in those things. So those would be things that I would do as president, was very much to understand what is going on here. I need to understand what's going on in the community at the same time, and that would kind of change over time. Once we got things organized at the college or understanding, I would want to get a better understanding of the community as well, and how do those things interface. And from there, change would happen. But it would be change that we all agreed was the right change, not change for change's sake. But if you don't change, you die. I mean, that's what it is. Change is inevitable. Change is inevitable for an organization, for an institution. But you've got to be smart about what the change is. You need to have a very strategic approach to where do we want to change, why do we want to change, and how are we going to change. How's that going to happen? It's not something you just jump into. It's something you really think about carefully. It's got to be very strategic. So you would be involved in identifying where change possibly is needed.
The next question is, what do you look forward to experiencing here in Michigan?
Cold, snow.
You look forward to that.
No. I grew up in Michigan. I grew up on the other side of the state, but I grew up there. My family is there. I think Michigan is a great place. Half my life was spent in Michigan. Went to Wayne State University for my bachelor's and my master's degree. So, I'm a Michigander, so there's something about coming home, if that's possible. I'd like to do it. That's on a personal level. I'd really like to come back to Michigan. But Michigan is, I mentioned this in your retirement question. There's a fascinating challenge. Michigan is economically in hard times. Grand Rapids seems to be a little bit better off than a lot of the rest of the state. There's a real challenge that's presented here in terms of the economy of the area, how community colleges could change, could improve that. It's an exciting challenge. And so coming back to Michigan, there's problems in every state with the economy right now. But, as they usually say, another state gets a cold, Michigan gets pneumonia. So, economically. So there's a real challenge here to, and you talk about the green issues, there's all kinds of issues. The automakers, I don't think, got it. They didn't get the idea about some of the sustainability issues. And so, this is a real challenge in the state. But I've seen, in Grand Rapids, as I understand, is one of the greenest cities in the state, or even, if not the country. That is fascinating to me. I want to be part of that, a renaissance, a sustainable renaissance for our community. And the college, well, I know, can play a major role in making that happen and making it sustainable so that it goes on and on and on. So there's some great challenges. There's some personal issues for me to come back to Michigan. And those kind of motivate me particularly. And this is a great institution. I fixed an institution in my last job. This one is running fine. I just want to take it to the next level. So that's the interesting challenge. I'm really not, at this point, I don't want to go fix another institution. This one doesn't need fixing. It just needs, propelling into the future, and I'd like to do that. They keep coming.
This one just said 5 minutes.
I don't know the answer to that question.
The next question is, what do you think students want to achieve here at GRCC, and how can you help them achieve these goals?
Well, I think, I'm going to start repeating myself here, but I think students want access to the American dream, whatever that is, and it's different for different people. But it's opportunity, it's a career, it's good wages, it's, a society, a culture that they enjoy, they want to be part of. I think that's what all our dreams are. It's about, a future that's bright. And there's really good data to say that if you go to a community college, you almost double your lifetime income as a result of that. If you go into a 4-year school, it's like 3 times, your income for the rest of your life. It's not just about income, but it's about being, a participant in the American dream, to be part of communities, to be part of the community's life, to be part of its political structure, to be economically, well off. To provide that for your children. So all of those things start with education in so many ways. And this country's falling behind in education. And community colleges are one hope to make, to fill that gap. A lot of other work in education has to be done as well. But, for you, right now, we're the ticket for you to get to that next level in your life, to get to the dreams that you want for you and then ultimately your children. So, that's what I think students want, and a college like a community college can provide that, but it's got to be very holistic. It's not just providing classes, it's providing support, it's providing counseling, it's providing tutoring, it's providing other kinds of technological support so that you can succeed in your classes and then ultimately succeed in your life.
And I think we'll end with this question. The last question is, what role do you see students playing in the college decision-making process?
Well, I haven't got the whole structure down, but, I used at Broome, we had an organization called the College Council. And the College Council was faculty, staff, and administrators, and students. And it was the body that did the strategic planning for the college and really did a lot of the, issues related to college, facilities. And so there was a student component to that. I don't know where students already have impact on decision making, but you ask about changes, I'd want to see an opportunity for students to be involved in decision-making in that kind of forum. And again, I don't know if that's already happening or where it's happening, but I would want to figure out how it could happen, because it's absolutely, it's critical to me. If you don't, you're the consumers of what we do, and if we don't even, it's like a doctor saying, take 2 aspirins and call me in the morning, and you never got to tell them what was wrong. So you need to tell us, what the issues are. So you need to be involved in decision making and particularly planning for the college. So again, I'd want to have it. I don't know if it's already here. I don't know where it would go, but it would be important to me that it happened.
Okay.
It's okay. Yeah. Thank you.